you can imagine. I've kind of got a big mouth. But I want to thank, of course, as I mentioned, the Seneca Nation, Seneca Casino. Michael Kimmelberg has been amazing, their support in helping make this dream a reality. You know, it's something that we've wanted to do for a while. We've talked about it for years now. I've been talking, and as all of you who read the paper here in Niagara Falls have seen, that I've been in communication with the mayor trying to plan an event just like this for quite some time, literally years. And we want to do something on the 5-year anniversary, and I'm sure on Friday we'll be looking forward towards the 10-year anniversary. But again, it's something that I've wanted to do for a long time. I want to thank, of course, Niagara County, Rick Updegrove, who really facilitated sponsoring us coming here on the county's part. He was amazing. Of course, Chairman McNall, Majority Leader Randy Bratt, Minority Leader Dennis Virtuoso, and Legislator Jason Zona, all gentlemen that I spent quite a bit of time on the phone with trying to make this happen over the last period of time, and they were very influential in helping make this happen. Of course, Mayor Paul Deister, who unfortunately can't be here this morning. I understand he has another commitment, but he's been extremely supportive. We have been in communication often, and through challenges, trials, as many of you may be aware, we had an accident back in February where we were trying to break a world record as a family doing the 8-person pyramid. And there was an accident where we had fallen, and within probably the next 30 minutes, I got a text from Mayor Deister asking how my family was doing, and he's again been a huge supporter since that walk back in 2012. And a few others. Pat Proctor has been an amazing supporter from Rainbow Air. He's helped us out immensely. And I just want to personally thank him, or publicly thank him, for all of his support. Of course, Roger Trevino. Many of you guys may not realize, but I was in Orlando at a convention, and this was back in 2010, I believe. And Roger walked up to the booth where I was promoting with an agency the shows that we do around the world, and he said, "Have you ever thought about walking a wire over Niagara Falls?" And I said, "Well, yeah, absolutely, I have. It's been a dream of mine for a long time." And he said, "Well, I might be able to help facilitate that and make it happen." And the truth is, that gentleman right there is the reason why I was able to walk over. One of the many reasons, but he was the one who got the ball rolling for sure. So I want to thank him as well for his support. Of course, my managers who have been with me for a long time. Winston is here, Winston Simone and David Simone. David's not able to be with us. He's actually on tour or traveling right now with one of their other clients, but they've stuck by my side through the challenges of changing a law in the United States over 100 years, and also they've stuck with me through a lot of challenges, a lot of trials, and they've been by my side, so I can't thank them enough. And of course, my family. They are the reason I do what I do. 7 generations and over 200 years on my side. My wife will speak to her family's side, which actually outshines mine, believe it or not. They've been doing it longer and for more generations. So, you know, again, it's an honor to be here. This is something that we have talked about for years, as I mentioned, and as me and my wife discussed it one day, I said, you know, we have to do something exciting and thrilling in Niagara Falls to keep the awareness out there of our relationship and that connection. And as we discussed it, I thought, you know, what can I do? You know, I can't walk the falls again, and the only way I would is if I did it without a tether. I don't know if that's a reality. We know the challenges on the Canadian side when they changed their legislation over there to allow me to do it. They said only once in a generation would they allow something like that. So I knew there were challenges there, and how can you top doing what I did if I don't do it without a tether? There's no other place I can imagine to walk that would outshine that. So as we discussed it, my wife said, well, remember that world record that you set years ago hanging by your teeth under a helicopter about 200 feet above the ground? Well, why don't you allow me to do it 300 feet above the falls? And it wasn't even a second thought. I was like, absolutely, that's amazing, that's awesome. I think Niagara Falls is all about families, at least I hope it is. You know, it's my dream to see this side of the falls flourish and extremely successful. And and I think it should be about family. I think that's one of the challenges that Niagara Falls, U.S. faces right now, is there's not a lot for families to do here. And that's something that we as a team and as a family need to work on. to find opportunities and things for families to do over here. And again, that's why my dream is to open up some sort of a family entertainment center with a Wallenda theme, where people can bring their families here and stay for more than 6 or 7 hours. Of course, there is plenty to do as far as seeing the falls, but I say plenty, but it's very minimal. There's after that, what do you do? So again, we want to do something that that families can stay here for days and have fun and enjoy their time. So that's our dream. And again, I could keep talking for hours, and I'm sure many of the media outlets have questions for me, which I'll answer, and afterwards we'll do some one-on-ones. But without further ado, let me introduce you to the woman that has made me the strong man that I am, that has been by my side and backed me through all of the stuff that I've faced, all of the challenges. When I sat on my couch after leaving a meeting with, at the time, Senator George Maziarz, who said, you know, I don't think it's reality. I think it's a great idea, but I don't think you're going to be able to get permission to walk across the falls. There's so many challenges. That was the first meeting. The second one was completely different, and he ended up being a huge part and advocate of making that happen. But I remember going back to Florida and sitting on my couch in tears, and her coming up and holding me and saying, you know, don't give up. Your family keeps going, and I'm here for you, and this is a dream of yours, and I believe that you should continue to pursue it and fulfill this dream. Through triumph, through tragedy, through challenges, she's always been there. She's the rock behind me. I act big and macho like a big daredevil, but the truth is I'm a big sissy. And she's always there to pick me up when I fall down. So, again, the love of my life. We've been married for 17 years. We have 3 amazing children. We actually have a son that is about to graduate on Friday. He will be a U.S. Marine, which we are extremely proud of. So, without further ado, here's my beautiful wife, Erendira Vasquez Wallenda.
Hey, everybody. Well, I'm not sure that there's much more to say, being that Nicholas said everything, but like he said, it really does just feel like home here. I'm just so thankful to the Seneca Nation of Indians and the city and county of Niagara Falls for allowing me to do this. Nicholas was so gracious in letting me do a stunt, and I just feel honored and blessed. So, yeah.
You know, what I was saying again is, as far as families in Niagara Falls, I think this is just a cool analogy for the world to see that this is what we do for fun over Niagara Falls. This is what our family have done for many generations. She didn't mention it, but her family's been performing on one side for 8 generations and over 300 years, and on the other side for 7 generations. I've only got 7 generations on one side in 200 years. So, believe it or not, they've been doing it a lot longer than we have. Her family was the first to do the quadruple somersault on the flying trapeze. She's been an aerialist for all of her life. And again, just an amazing performer. And we thought this is a cool opportunity to tie family in with the Niagara Falls region, which is really what Niagara Falls is all about. So again, it's an honor to be here. We are thrilled. We're excited about the opportunity tomorrow. And we're excited to showcase Niagara Falls, USA around the world again. You know, many people have asked the question, why on the 15th? And I think that's a pretty simple answer. Of course, it's the 5-year anniversary of my walk, but why 8:30 in the morning? Well, we've learned that through my career, and of course my managers have a great history in the television world and music world, that as far as to capitalize, the best capitalization of media and worldwide media is to do an event early in the morning. You catch the morning shows, the afternoon news, and the evening news. So you get 3 hits as well as the papers the next day. That really is what this event is about. People have said, where can we watch it from? Well, the reality is the helicopter will be 300 feet over the falls. You can watch it from anywhere. If you can see that mist, she'll be above the mist. You can see it from anywhere. There may be better viewing points, and people can determine that, but you really can. It really is an event that you can see from anywhere. But it was really designed not around a live audience. You know, the economic impact of my walk in 2012, they estimated about $22 million to this region. It wasn't because people came here that day to watch that walk. Matter of fact, the parks limited access to the public that day to, I believe it was 8 or 10,000 people. So that was extremely limited. It was about the media coverage around the world that you can't put a price tag on being at front page of the Times of London, front page of papers in China, and across the globe. You can't buy or put a price tag on that media value. And that's what this event is as well. It's about promoting this region to the world. Similar to buying a commercial, you buy airtime on TV. During the Today Show to buy a commercial, it's $500,000. Well, again, this is coverage that you can't afford. And again, it's about trying to attract the attention of the world to Niagara Falls. People see that in the back of their heads. They go, you know what? We need to bring our family to Niagara Falls. It's not about the live audience. However, we love the live audience. We feed off the audience. That's what we do, and that's why we do what we do, is to entertain and hopefully inspire the audience that nothing is impossible. And that's what you're going to witness tomorrow morning. My wife hanging by nothing but her teeth under a helicopter 300 feet up. If that doesn't inspire women and mothers and girls around the world, I don't know what will. She is a mother of 3. Again, we have a 19-year-old son. You'd never be able to convince me that she had 3 children and a 19-year-old son. Hopefully that inspires people again, and I said it after I got off the cable in Niagara Falls. My goal is to inspire people that nothing's impossible. No matter what challenges they're facing, no matter what challenges Niagara Falls is facing, they're going to make it through, and they're going to make it to the other side too. And that's really what our careers have become, are hopefully inspiring people, whether it be a battle with cancer or financial struggles or family struggles or raising teenagers, which we know we have plenty of those struggles. Nothing is impossible. So thank you guys for being here, and if the media, if you guys would like to ask questions, we are here for that purpose. How you doing, bud? Yes, so tomorrow's event will take place, it will begin here on the rooftop of the parking garage is where the helicopter will be located. The helicopter will begin to lift off the ground and hover. There'll be what's called a lyra in our industry, but it's basically a hula hoop hanging by its side, hanging underneath the helicopter from 2 ropes. My wife will grab onto that, she'll swing up, she'll sit down, and that helicopter will take off. We'll follow a pattern that's been predetermined by the FAA and make our way over to the falls. Once we get over to the falls, we'll get up to the altitude of about 300 feet into a safe area, and we will hover in that position. And we will maintain that position while my wife performs a series of different tricks. She's a ballerina in the air. In fact, she will be wearing headphones tomorrow. You won't hear what she's listening to, but she'll be listening to music because she performs to that music. And she'll do a series of tricks, and as long as the conditions are good, and she's comfortable, I should say, with the conditions, she will do everything from different poses to, at one point, hanging by her toes, and then eventually hanging by her teeth. And then at that point, once we're complete, we expect it to last 5 to 7 minutes over by the falls. The helicopter will make its way back here again to the parking garage.
Sorry. Explain how you'll be hanging by your teeth. How does that work? Number 1. And number 2, how do you dangle by your toes? And will you be wearing a tether, or will you have any support?
We have really good toothpaste.
I was going to say, I mean, your dentures have got to be really good, right?
Yeah, they are. So, you want to talk about the mouthpiece or anything?
Sure. So I have a mouthpiece, and it kind of looks like a mouth guard that you'd wear at night. So it molds perfectly to my teeth, and I'm actually using all the muscles in my jaw to keep me up there. And I'll be hanging underneath my lyra. Yeah.
Erendira,
Yeah.
you over here. Sorry.
Oh,
Hello.
okay.
Hi. Good morning. You mentioned, or Nick mentioned, that you have to be comfortable with the conditions. There's a possibility for rain tomorrow. What are the conditions that you will perform in, and what are the conditions that you won't perform in?
Well, as long as there's no lightning, I'll perform. I mean, we live in Florida, and it's during the summertime, so around 3 o'clock, it's always pouring. So just like Nicholas, I always try to go out and practice in the worst, weather possible. So.
And I know this is very, very dumb, but all of us will be saying your name many, many times tomorrow. How would you prefer that we pronounce your first name?
Well, it's pronounced Erendira, but the best way to say it is Erendira.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
And I want to address the safety question. So she will be wearing a tether tomorrow. And the reason why is, and we've learned this from performing in the state of New York for generations, literally, but there's a labor law, a New York State labor law. It's Law 41. It applies to aerial performers, which is what we are, circus performers, aerial performers. I forgot what all the code says, but basically what it says is that if you're over 20 feet, you have to wear a tether. And because we are, as we have always maintained, people of integrity, and we do follow the rules, that is something that we're required to do. So she will be wearing that. Now, one of the concerns is, as was with me walking over Niagara Falls, it getting tangled up, that sort of thing. So she's practiced a little bit with a tether at home just to be prepared for what it will feel like and what it will be like. But again, it's a law that OSHA, it's a labor law. Actually, it's not OSHA. It's a New York State labor law requirement that she has to wear. If you're over 20 feet performing an aerial stunt, you have to wear some sort of a safety apparatus. But I will say, just like when I walked over Niagara Falls, it wasn't about a safety or not. It was about whether I made it to point A to point B without using a safety. And that will be the same thing tomorrow. It's going to be about her completing this with, without actually using the safety that she'll be hooked to. It'll be a cable. It'll be attached to her waist. It'll be longer than, obviously, she has to be able to move and that sort of thing. So if she were to use it, you would absolutely see it, and I would probably freak out, as would she. So, I just wanted to address that right away as well.
Hi. For years, daredevils have been attracted to Niagara Falls. Can you talk a little about why? What is so intriguing about the falls, and why you want to attempt to
I think that's an interesting question. I mean, I think it's an incredible force of Mother Nature. Just like the Grand Canyon was to me. There's just something about it that's just attractive to people that do what we do. I think the history of Niagara Falls, and I don't know what started it, but I think that attracts people. At least it attracted me to this area. Of course, my attraction came when my parents were performing on a shrine circus in Buffalo when I was 5 or 6 years old, and they brought me to see the falls like anyone would when they're in the area, and I thought, this is awesome, we should walk a wire across it. It's just the way our brains were programmed after so many generations and so many years. But I just think it's, it's just amazing to be able to showcase. We're blessed with the opportunity to showcase these amazing creations that God has created around the universe. One of my goals now is that I'm working on is walking over an active volcano. There's just amazing, just to show on TV, those that haven't been to Niagara Falls, for one, what it looks like and what it really is, and the magnitude of it. When you see her under a helicopter with the falls in the background, and we have some amazing shots, one that was 2 pages in Sports Illustrated of me walking over the falls taken from a rooftop on the Canadian side. I'm like a little tiny ant compared to it, and I don't think people realize the magnitude around the world of Niagara Falls, and again, hopefully that attracts them to come to this area and bring their families to visit.
Is the record the height or the time? Nick, will you be on the chopper? Erendira, what does your dentist say about this?
So I will be on the chopper. The reason being is I will have always be looking directly at her. I'll be communicating with the pilot as well. If I do see an issue, if she's not comfortable, we've known each other long enough. Actually, we met when she was 3 months old and I was 3 years old. Believe it or not, I am older than her. But we met, we know each other's body signals, etc. She won't have communication with me other than visual, and we've got, of course, different hand signals that we can read each other. So I'll be on the chopper, and if you want to talk about what our dentist thinks.
So obviously my dentist doesn't want me to do this for the rest of my life, but he was actually the one who made the mold for me. So, yeah.
Our dentist is a very understanding person. He's actually a close friend of ours as well. He was actually here when I walked over Niagara Falls, and I hadn't hung by my teeth at that point. But again, he's just a very, very dear friend of ours. And, the reason why I originally hung under a helicopter by my teeth was I was in my grandmother's living room and looked at the wall, and believe it or not, there was a photo of her hanging by her teeth under a bicycle about 25 feet above the ground. My grandfather was on the bicycle riding it on the wire. She was hanging underneath that by her teeth. And I saw that and thought, this is pretty amazing. How do I bring that, how do I pay honor and respect to my family history, which is everything that I do and what it's about, and how do I bring it to a new level? And that's when I thought it'd be pretty amazing to do it under a helicopter. Now, my grandmother used to do it on a leather strap, and basically it was a belt folded in half, and she would bite down on that and hold on. So we've actually used technology to our advantage to make something that is better for your teeth. It actually holds your teeth in place so that it won't damage the jaw or the teeth as we do it. But I can tell you this from experience, and again, you probably won't believe it, but I weigh a little more than her, but it hurts really bad. It is extremely painful. So the record is for the height. I did it at 200 feet. She'll do it over 200, probably around 300 to 350 feet over above the falls.
Now, Erendira, can you talk about the unique challenges that the falls pose in terms of mist or wind or anything like that?
Well, like I said before, this is something that we train for. So I'm not going to just go out there and be like, oh, I hope for the best. I live in Florida. It's always misty. It's always raining. It's always windy. So whenever it gets really bad outside, as long as there's no lightning, I try to go outside and train. So, well, I use rosin. Yeah. So it probably be a little more grippy rather than slippery. Yeah.
Also, one of the benefits of being over 300 feet up is that we will be probably well above the mist. What I learned when I walked across the falls and as I studied them was that the majority of those strange winds, including from a lot of the pilots here and some of the guys that have rescued people in the falls in their helicopters, it starts closer down into the bowl there as you're hitting the surface of the water and below as it's dropping. So she'll be above a lot of that as well, which is another thing, of course, in her favor. Now, what is against her is the fact that your mind, the higher you are, the harder it is to let go and hang on by your teeth. So again, and trust me from experience, wearing a tether doesn't change that at all. We, for one, just mentally, it is just as much of a challenge, in fact, more of a challenge often because you're worried you're going to get tangled up on it, rather than not using one, which is the way that we've trained most of our lives. So, again, I think the biggest thing that she has going for her tomorrow is the fact that she'll be above the majority of that weather. And again, we're hoping and praying for good weather tomorrow morning.
Erendira, can you touch on the significance of what it means to you to do this stunt on the anniversary of your husband's stunt?
I feel so honored. I remember watching Nicholas as he was crossing the falls and thinking, boy, I wonder what that would feel like, or like, I wonder what it would look like, never thinking that 5 years later I was going to get the same opportunity. So, I just feel blessed.
Can you talk to us a little bit more about your relationship with each other? I know, Nick, you said you were 3 years old, you were 3 months old, Erendira, when you met. How did your relationship evolve together?
Are you talking about in front of people or behind closed doors?
No, it's always good. Well, not always good, but yes, we grew up together, and he was this annoying little boy with like these little short shorts and his high socks, back in the 80s.
Don't be that honest.
But I always remember Nicholas, and he was always trying to one-up everybody when it came to anything. Be like, oh, I can do 5 pull-ups today. We were just little kids. He's like, well, I can do 10 by one arm. So it was always sort of like that. And it wasn't until I was about 14 years old, and our parents were performing together, and I was like, oh, he's kind of cute. So our friendship became more of like a boyfriend, girlfriend, like puppy love sort of thing. And then as soon as I turned 18 years old, we got married. So I really did marry my best friend. And not too many people can say that they marry somebody with the same passions as they have. So.
And that being said, in 5 more years, I'm going to hang by one tooth 800 feet above the falls.
And Erendira, what is your family history in this business?
Yeah, so I come from 8 generations of circus on my mom's side and 7 generations of circus on my father's side. My mom's side comes from Australia, and that's the 3rd oldest circus in Australia, and it's still running. And then my father's side, they also have a circus in Mexico City. And now it travels the U.S., but circus, yeah.
We're both blessed, and I think it's one of the unique aspects of what we do. It's hard to marry somebody who doesn't walk a wire, who doesn't risk their life. When you tell your wife that's a nurse that you're going to go walk a wire over Niagara Falls, she's not exactly supportive. When I told my wife it was my dream to walk over Niagara Falls, she said, great, what's it going to take? How can I support you? How can I back you up? So again, it's one of the awesome things is that we are so blessed that we get to do what we love. When you see her under the helicopter, it's her passion. When you see us performing in front of an audience, we're getting ready to tour with the Big Apple Circus. We'll be touring all over the country. performing in a big top that seats 1,700 people. No one in the audience is more than 50 feet from us, and we'll be performing the 7-person pyramid. My wife will be performing similar to what she's doing under the helicopter. And that is like life to us. My great-grandfather said life is on the wire and everything else is just waiting. That's what we do. That is, when we get up in the morning, you know, we look forward to that. We're excited about that, of, hey, we get to go entertain people. We get to go perform. We get to go do what we love. That's very unique that people do what they love and are compensated for it. So we consider ourselves extremely blessed with the opportunity of not only being married to each other and understanding the way that our minds work. When I say that I want to look over a volcano, you know, of course she's concerned about my safety, but then she's like, yeah, that's amazing. I think that's a great idea. And we'll bounce ideas back and forth off of each other of what do you think about this? What do you think about that? So again, I am extremely blessed and owe a lot to this region too. I mean, Niagara Falls has been huge and monumental in building the Nick Wallenda brand and turning it into a worldwide brand. And I'll be forever grateful to this area for everything that they did and all the support and all the friends and family that we've made here in this area.
Can you just expand on that thought a little bit? You mentioned specifically that this is a painful process. Why go through with this? Why practice? Why go on with this day in and day out? And what's the thought process behind all that? I understand what you're saying, that it's your family history, but to suffer and go through that pain.
So another quote is, circus is pain. You hear it all the time. That's our background, is circus, and there's a lot of pain involved with it. I know it's hard to understand. Look, when I do these walks, when she performs under the helicopter, we're risking our lives. That's the reality of it. But we realize, and I said this after the accident in February, we always realized that there's a possibility of getting killed or injured, but you know, you never expect it to become a reality, of course, but you always realize that there's a possibility, and it's important that we always remain that level, you know, keep that level of respect of realizing that it's a possibility. But there's also a possibility of getting killed on the airplane when we came here yesterday, or look what happened in D.C. today. You never know. I mean, look at the world we live in. So I encourage people to live life to the fullest and chase your dreams and pursue your dreams. You know, this world is so negative. You know, when you tell your friend you want to open up a pizza parlor, he says, why would you do that? There's 7 competitors in town. Why not? Because you can be better than everybody else, and everybody's going to end up coming to you, and the other 6 are going to close down. We see things backwards as a society here in America and really around the world, but we see things backwards rather than being encouraging and uplifting and loving. And, you know, even the challenges of you know, the politics of getting permission to do even something like this was challenging, but you know, Niagara Falls, the walk that I did especially, there were so many people adamantly against it. And the truth is, this was my dream. I was going to fund it. It was going to be great for the region. So why would you be against it? And I think there's so much turmoil between people, and it's about egos and self-pride and arrogance, and it's not about others. We should be about loving others and encouraging others and inspiring others and do things with other people in mind. Yes, you know, I don't avoid the fact, of course, through this, we get paid for this. We risk our lives for a living, and this is how we make our living. So I'm not saying there's a benefit to what we do too, and there wouldn't be a benefit to me having a permanent facility here too. But it's really about a matter of the heart, you know, and about caring and loving others. And I wish that we could all get along. I just saw a story about Bono and President Bush and how he used to call him every concert, trying to get a hold of him to basically humiliate him. And after years of doing that, finally Bush met up with him. And now they have an amazing relationship. They just toured. They were just in Texas. There's a picture of them together. And the Bushes have donated so much money and raised so much awareness for Bono's cause that I believe 10,000 lives have been saved or something because of that relationship. They don't agree with each other at all on very few things, but they do agree that humanity is important. And I wish we could all do that. I wish we could all group together, embrace each other, and lift each other up and support each other, rather than constantly tearing each other down, which is the disgusting political world that we live in this day.
A couple more quick questions. Do you two have life insurance? And what is the state of the circus industry? We just saw Ringling Brothers close down after, you know, so many years. You both come from long circus backgrounds. How would you categorize or sort of talk about the state of the circus industry as well?
Yes, so we do have life insurance, and that's part of the reasons why what we do is so darn expensive, is insurance. people would be flabbergasted at the amount of money that we spend on insurance for an event like this. It's just part of what we do. The state of the circus, to me, is in a transition period. I think that it is on an upswing, in my opinion, and I know that sounds contrary to what you've seen in the news, but I think there's a huge opportunity for the circus world. I think the circus world has struggled because they haven't kept up with the times. I think they have continued on in the direction and have not progressed the way they should have. Cirque du Soleil has been done a great job at progressing, and you know, some of the directors there and producers there inspire me greatly because they're visionaries. Ringling Brothers shut down for several reasons. One is I don't believe they progressed with the times. I don't believe they kept up and when I say progressed with the times, people don't relate to a guy wearing pink tights and sequins. They don't. So as a teenager, I'm not going to go watch that guy, and why would I? So part of it is as simple as the way that you present yourself, what you wear. You know, I wear jeans and a t-shirt when I do this stuff. My wife will be wearing her favorite brand Lululemon tomorrow when she does this. You know, it's about music and lighting and sound, and again, being relevant to this generation. Again, circus has hurt itself by not keeping up. I believe, again, there's a huge opportunity. People are fascinated by what we do. 23 million people watched in the U.S. alone, and it was shown live in 180 countries around the world when I walked across the Grand Canyon. People still are really into what we do, and that's proof of it. It's just about keeping it relevant and changing with the times, and that's why I'm excited to be a part of Big Apple Circus and the tour that we'll be going on, because that's going to be our goal, is to make it more relevant and get in that new generation. Once we get the 18 to 24-year-olds in the tent, they'll come back year after year and bring their kids and so on, but it's about getting them through that door. And to be honest with you, with all due respect, the media is a huge reason why people look down on, and that generation looks down on circus, because when they see something chaotic in Congress or at the White House, they call it a circus. Well, the truth is, circus is probably the most organized form of entertainment in the world. We'll go into a town with Ringling Brothers, and when my grandmother was touring, there were 800 draft horses on the show. That's just horses. There were 1,200 personnel, 80 elephants. You go into a town, show up, and the next day there's a show going on. There's 3 shows, and the next day they leave, and you never knew they were there. That's organization, not disarray. So because of that, the next generation sees it as what media has painted it as being chaotic, and also they paint it as a goofy clown wearing a red nose and a rainbow-colored wig juggling on a unicycle. That's not what circus is anymore. Circus is turning into an extremely beautiful art form. And it's exciting for us to be ambassadors for that industry.
The city of Niagara Falls approved $35,000 for this stunt. Can you break down exactly what that's being spent on? Because we were told yesterday the pilot of the helicopter is volunteering his time. Is that true?
That's not true. The pilot that is filming it volunteered his time, but absolutely not. No, the biggest cost is insurance. As I mentioned, that's a huge cost. And then, of course, there are other fees, and there's other fees associated as far as permitting, as far as, when I say permitting, FAA, the attorney that works on the FAA fees, FAA agreements, as well as we get a fee for this. I mean, that's just as simple as it is. When, again, you cannot put a price tag on the amount of media. There's already been a half page in the Times of London. It's been in several papers around the world already. This will be covered via national media tomorrow. It's about promoting this region, and that's the investment that it takes to do that. And we get paid to risk our lives. I mean, that's the reality. But we'll walk away with, after insurance and fees, probably $5 each.
Erendira, hey, can you talk a little about the view that you're expecting to see from above? Will you even be looking at it, or are you going to be a little freaked out?
Well, I definitely am not going to be freaked out. You can't do what we do and be freaked out. If you're scared of it, then it becomes dangerous. Now, I respect what I do, but I definitely will be taken in the view. That's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but I'm definitely not fearful.
How many seconds will you exactly be hanging by your teeth, and what will you be listening to music-wise in your ears? Is it a specific song?
Well, I love music. On my mom's side, there's also a lot of dancers, lots of ballet dancers. So I always choreograph everything that I do to music. I'm a big fan of Lindsay Sterling. I don't know if you know who that is. What else did you say? How long will I be hanging? Well, it just determines on what the weather is like and how I feel. Yeah. 10 to 15, maybe 20. I don't know, if I feel really good, maybe 30.
Well, thank you guys so much for being here. Again, thank you for your support. We do love this region and this area, and are excited to be back, and hope to be back a lot more often. We're going to spend some time doing one-on-one interviews with the media, so if you guys would like to get in line, I don't know if there's somebody that's organizing that, but we're going to actually set up some tables right here for me and my wife, and we'll be able to sit with you guys and do several one-on-one interviews. Again, thank you guys. We appreciate your support, and we're looking forward to tomorrow.